Hello and welcome to the Early Bird Special with your hosts, Carol Montgomery and Julia Scotti. And now, here's Carol Montgomery.
Hey everybody, how are you? Welcome to the Early Bird Special, the new and fabulous Tuesday edition, here coming from you from my office / son's old bedroom. So there's a lot of shit. Yeah, I should one day I should do something. I should do an actual tour of what looks like in this room, because I think I've mentioned this before. But if you don't know, my son's moved out, 75 times now. So, and he's left mostly all of his books and his albums, and he doesn't want to get rid of them. So that's what we're dealing with right now. It reminds me of when I was a kid, and my mother was going to give me my first credit card, and she was very hesitant because, to quote my mother, "Why should I get you a credit card? All you're going to do is buy records." And I can't really show you because I have too many things locked in here, but there is a huge thing of records, and that's what my son does, is buy records, because that's what he does. Welcome to what is it? We don't even know what day it is as far as the pandemic is concerned. We are still in it. The good news, there is a vaccine coming, which is great. Not to New York State, because the president doesn't like us, because we didn't vote for him. But there is a vaccine coming, so I am hopeful that maybe by next summer, life will go back to some kind of normalcy. Some kind of normalcy. I'm not saying good normalcy, but some kind of normalcy. We've talked. I'll ask the ladies when we're on if they've done the COVID testing yet. We have done a COVID test. It was negative. But my new COVID joke is the waiting online for a COVID test reminds me of Studio 54 in the 70s, because you wait on a very long line to get in, and then somebody shoves something in your nose. So for the people watching, you should know what that means. Anyway, who's doing that now? I mean, seriously, is anybody doing drugs now? I'm so curious. Think about what we did in the 70s. We took a straw. Sometimes we don't even know where the straw was from. Maybe it was on the floor of the club, and we would shove it in our nose and then shove drugs into our nose. Can you imagine doing that now? I'm creeping out. I am creeping out just thinking about doing that. That is like, whoa! So, yeah. So it's so interesting how life has changed. And I wonder what it's going to be like for my grandchildren. Hint, hint, Lane, just if you're watching. Are we going to talk about this time? Oh, you remember when we didn't do anything and we had to stay in the house and stuff? The good news is a couple of things, as I'm rambling as usually. I was at Target today because there's a new Target by Columbus Circle. I go there every day because that's what I do. I walk to Target every day. They have weights at Target. So if anybody's looking to buy weights, you should go to Target, because they're going to close the gym soon. And we have a lot of stuff to talk about. I mean, so I'm going to just bring Julia on because, of course, I'm rambling as I usually do, because I don't have cocaine and nobody will give it to me. But do you remember, okay, this will show you what kind of a drug addict were you, that you used to be able to, I don't think you can do it anymore, but you used to be able to make like a makeshift spoon out of this part of your hand. And not that I did it a lot. I was a pot and a Quaalude girl, but that's another episode. Anyway, let me bring on my co-host, my fabulous co-host. She's the one keeping me sane during all of this pandemic. Thank God she agreed to do this. Let's welcome Julia Scotti. Julia Scotti. Oh.
Hello, Carol.
Hello, my love. How are you?
I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm very up these days. I'm very upbeat these days.
Maybe because we know it's the end of a very horrible 4 years.
I think that's what, I swear to God, I think that's what it is. I'm doing all. I'm creative again. I'm writing. I have paper in my hand. I never have paper in my hand. And now I do.
Do you have a joke you want to share with us? Is there a new joke you may want to share with us, or not really? Okay.
No. I wish I did. No, actually, I'm holding Janette Barber's bio.
Oh,
I've been reading.
You've been reading it? It's a great bio.
I'm continually fascinated by this, by her. I got to tell you, last week's show, people called me to tell me how much they loved it and how wonderful she was.
Well, she's great. I mean, and we didn't even get to, which we will get to.
We're going to scratch her surface today.
Yeah, because Janette and I, started together at Who's on First. On
Who's on First?
Which is now at Dunkin' Donuts, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, aren't they all?
So, but before we bring Janette on, let's talk about the big news.
Yes.
This is, I've been a fan of his for a long time, and to hear this news and how wonderful. You want to bring it up?
Well, yeah, sure. It came across my feed this morning. Ellen Page, the actress, is now Elliot Page. He's transitioned to male, and it's so huge for the community. In general, because he's one of, I guess you could say he's the first person other than Laverne Cox, who we've only known as Laverne,
right?
Which is not to take anything away from her, because she did incredible things for the trans community, but Elliot Page was a star prior, and to make that kind of decision to come out and put everything on the line like that, I'm so proud of him. I'm proud of all my trans brothers and sisters for following their bliss, but good on him. It's his day.
Yeah, and it's and in the business in Hollywood, because there's still, there are a lot of closet anti-trans and and homophobe.
No.
Yeah, I know that's. But what you hear the word brave a lot when people but good for him, because he'd been a searcher for quite a while.
That's a good term. I've never heard that before. That's so that this is what he feels is really it does it anytime somebody that has, it's not really power, but has more visibility. Well, he's always been a proponent for gay rights. I mean, he's always and from what I understand, his wife is very, very supportive of his decision, which is so important when you go through this.
Yeah.
And I went on social media, and already people are giving him shit. He's getting it from straight people. He's getting it from the militant lesbian faction of it. I mean, I remember when I did it on AGT, I got some really ugly mail from people, but overwhelmingly, the supportive people made it, bearable.
Well, when you say ugly male, well, not male, male.
Well, all right, it wasn't male, but if I went on YouTube, okay.
Right, but like what would I always wonder about this? Like what I mean, was it because you changed from woman to man to a woman, and that's what is upsetting them?
It was part of that. I was I reminded I was a man no matter what I did. Religious people were like I was slapping God in the face. I told you I actually had somebody actually tell me that in person, that I was slapping God in the face. This was a person that I was seeing,
Wow.
who was, and the ugliness just comes out of people, and whenever they look for somebody to dump all of their ugliness on, and unfortunately, people like Elliot and me and people like trans people that are in the public eye are gonna be the brunt of it. But you learn to take it. Laverne Cox, I just saw over the
She
weekend.
she was attacked.
Yeah, well, she wasn't, but the person she was with was.
Yeah.
And they're just people out there hunting. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, it always it's always just. I think what happens is when people see somebody who's different, and if it's not in their comfort zone, they immediately lash out.
And sometimes I know that people like me and just people, LGBT people in general, they touch a nerve in somebody who may have had issues of their own in the past.
Oh yeah.
And it's too close to the truth for them, and it just freaks them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but on the good news, this is great. This is great news because this will bring more recognition to everybody.
Yeah. And I hope he works. I hope he gets to work. That the roles don't disappear for him.
Well, that'll be interesting. Absolutely. I mean, that'll be interesting because he was nominated. Wasn't he nominated? He's nominated for two.
I forgot the name. Yes, but yes.
But there's a new one, that Umbrella Academy.
Yes.
So I don't know if
I know he's nominated. But I have not seen it.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's if they already had the Oscars or if this was last year's nomination. I don't know. I'm just
interesting how they're gonna if he won, what would he be nominated for? Best female performance or best male performance?
Right.
That would be interesting. So
yeah,
the Academy maybe will have to look at that differently too.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah.
It's wonderful news. Anytime somebody finds their truth that's all we ever talk about is just finding your truth and just being happy within yourself. And so many people are so not happy with their lives. It's not similar, but it's kind of like I always say that you always say, did you ever have a friend that always would complain to you, like just bitch, and then you would try to help them and give them solutions, but they never listened? That's because they don't want to listen. Mm-hmm. They want to stay. They'd rather be comfortable in their misery than be uncomfortable.
But that's what they know.
Right.
That's what they know. And that's a cycle that so many people, I did it for years. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I just kept, I came from misery, and that's what I was comfortable with. I wasn't happy with it.
Right.
But it's what I was comfortable with.
Right. So it's not, yeah. So the point of this fabulous little discussion is be happy with who you are.
That's
be happy with what you've got. This is if 2020 has taught us anything, Julia, it's that life sucks. Do you know what I mean?
But it doesn't. See, that's the thing. It doesn't. It really, really does. Yeah. This little circumstance we're going through sucks. What sucks is the people that have lost people. That sucks.
Yes.
But having to, I'm writing more now than I would have if life was bonbons and puppy dogs. I can go out and do whatever I want. I'm writing. I'm being forced to write.
Right.
And I'm loving it. I rediscovered it again. And it's I'm bugging the shit out of everybody because I'm sending my stuff to them. I'm like, look at this. And anyway.
But it's good. I mean, because I've been in a little bit of a funk. We'll talk, when we bring Janette on, we'll talk a little bit more. But I've been in a little bit of a funk. And today I woke up and I went, okay, this is what it is. Let's start. So for me, you know how I am. I'm like, all right, I'm putting all the projects together. What am I doing next? Because the life as we know is never coming back to that. We have to now figure out what the next thing is. So let's bring Janette on because
we're eating up all her time.
Yes. We had so much fun with Janette last week that we've never done this, but we decided we wanted to keep talking to her because she's so fabulous. So everybody, let's bring back Janette Barber. Hey.
Hey.
Hi.
You guys are so sweet.
Now her mic has gone crazy on me again.
My mic is crazy?
How about that? If she goes in.
That's good. Well, you're okay. Jeanette, let me hear you.
Hello there.
That's
How
good.
are
What'd
you?
you do? Whatever you just did.
Just
maybe lean forward.
Yes, lean
maybe
forward.
That's what it is.
That's
lean
good.
forward like this.
Yeah. Let's see whether fisheye the nose.
Ooh, special effects. Ooh.
So the thing I wanted to ask you, because there's so much to talk about, but one of the things we didn't discuss last week is, we're all women in this business, and we've all been very successful, but we never touch on this. What has it been like to be older in this business, Janette? Like, do you have anything like I know that like the first time that I walked past a bunch of guys and they ignored me, I went, okay, I'm no longer that.
I was never that. But I really wasn't. I am the safest person. I have never walked by a construction site and had them say anything. It's like, what? Hello? But you remember, or you don't, but I was huge. I used to be really, really fat. And so the world treats you differently for that. Mm-hmm. So I was already used to that. Mm-hmm. And age, this is actually what I love about what you're doing, is I think age, there's a reality in the business about age, but I think a lot of us do damage by bringing our own judgments about age along with us to the business. Mm-hmm. Because you have your business right now, women of a certain age, is based on the fact that you aged.
True.
It is, right?
Yes, of course, of course.
You already had 2 Showtime specials. I don't know how many, theatrical shows. You would be everywhere in the country now if we had a country to go to. But it was because you were older,
right?
So I haven't really felt, but I don't feel anything. I don't notice anything. I never noticed that there was a problem being a woman. It was like.
Well,
I never noticed.
With your bio that you said, it's like, I got to read this paragraph that you said because it's so, it was one of the things I highlighted. You said the best, most interesting thing about being a woman of a certain age is how, in general, it begs for reinvention and risk. There is a drive to do what you wished you had or were afraid to try. This age is so ripe for one last chances. And that's so, I think the 3 of us are living proof of that.
Yeah. In every way, not just last chances in business, but last chances in life. There's a limited amount of time. When you get up in the morning, what do you want to inhabit? What do we want left? Some of it is career and some of it isn't. Mm-hmm. But it is true. I love being this age, except for the encroaching death.
I'm with you on that one. Yeah.
Well, I said the thing about being in my 60s is that I don't have time for shit anymore. Like, I just don't have time for bullshit, because I literally will say, because every time I go on stage now, the Grim Reaper is in the back and he's going on next. You know what I mean? Like, that's the great thing. Like, for the people who are watching that might be younger, that's the best thing about being older. Maybe you're, okay, so maybe you're not getting picked up on, or who cares about that? You don't care. Things that used to bother me in my youth do not bother me now.
Yeah.
More freedom. I mean, as far as men and dating, listen, actually that stuff at 60, it's a whole new world, because at 60, everyone is single again, except for Carol, who has, ruined everything.
Weathered the storm.
But,
yes. And with the same guy, because you met him, when we were doing Who's on First. I've been forever.
A miracle. Honestly, it is. But most people don't, let's face it. Because
obviously.
Yeah. But when you turn 60, everybody's single again, because either their partner died or they had a divorce. They're all out there. And so catching a man at 60, easiest thing in the world. This whole idea, oh my God, women over 60, because my 20-year relationship with that fucking monster ended after 20 years. I have no bitterness. I have no bitterness. And everybody says, it's just that, well, I broke up with him because he left. And it was a difference of opinion, because he really liked his girlfriend and I didn't. So it was a fight there at the end. But everybody says women in their 60s, you'll never date again. So I'm figuring women in their 60s, I'll never date again. I was like, get a baseball bat, because there's a million of them out there. This idea that as you get older, anything isn't possible. You know what's not possible? good legs. But beyond that,
Well, you know what's so interesting about what you said about the baseball bat? Like, cause I've been married to Todd for a billion years, but he still plays softball, and he's the only one that has a woman. Like I go, not this year, obviously, but I used to go watch him, and like they're all single, and they're out there playing ball, and there's nobody watching. It's just so funny. Yeah. But by the way, nobody that you'd even want to date, because they're really a bunch of losers. But that's beside the point.
Yeah, well, they were losers when they were young. So I don't think anything becomes less possible as we age, except a few physical things. I think everything becomes more possible because, as you were saying, Carol, you don't give a crap.
Right.
That means you're not afraid.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting about, like, people say to me, how did you get, do this, and how did you? And it's just, it was a good idea, and I'm not somebody that takes no for an answer, but it was, but I, I literally, I remember the last special we did with Julia, the makeup person had made me up a little too glammy. And I remember my partner said to my husband, "Is Carol okay? Because she's like glammy. She looks like pretty, like, because they're so used to me just being this hard worker and everything." And I was like, "No, I'm enjoying, it's women our age can enjoy being dressed up." And
so, which brings us to a good position here. Let's say the three of us have managed to make old age work.
Yes.
All right. But for the people out there who, let's say, especially these times, who find themselves in a position after so many years, maybe they were married and that ended, whether through death or divorce, or their job ended, or they're retired, and they're sitting at home and they go, "What now?" What advice would, I mean, I know what I would say to them, but what would you say to them if they want to start over and they've had a dream?
The dream is to just do it, to follow. Well, here's something I didn't do, but I wanted to do. And the only reason I didn't do it was, I don't know if you know that there's a pandemic.
I heard.
That happened. But I love to travel. I love to travel.
Yes.
But I don't travel alone. And I know this was actually something that happened in that 20 years of my life, is comics were very independent, and I became less and less independent. And I wasn't traveling alone. And I read this wonderful book, The Little Paris Bistro or something like that. And it starts off with this woman on a bridge in Paris over the Seine. And she jumps in the river to kill herself. And well, that failed. And she was in an unhappy relationship. And what do you do? And she starts traveling. She goes up into Brittany. She faces every fear. And I closed this book and I said, "This is ridiculous." And I booked a trip. So I would have been leaving in February. I was in India and Nepal. By March 26th, I had a flight booked to go to Paris for a week, and from Paris to fly down to my favorite place, Saoura in Morocco, for a month. But this trip was alone. And with an apartment, a wonderful apartment. Morocco's very, very affordable. Note to self, it's also my favorite place. But and as soon as this pandemic clears up, lean into that, because I always wanted to be the person who would go off by myself, and I didn't. So when you're sitting home and you've got your time, it's like, what is it? What did you want that you thought you couldn't do? I think that's the best place to start.
That's I love that. I love that.
Yeah, I think we've all done that. I mean, in our own way.
Yeah.
But I think in our business, we're people in this business, in the creative arts and in performance, we are more used to risk. We are more used to thinking that we can do the impossible, because this business is impossible. But anyone who, it doesn't matter what business you've been in, even, if you've had a very safe, quiet job as an office assistant and now you're retired, it's scarier to them because they're not used to it.
But, right. Yeah. We take doing the impossible for granted.
Right.
That's
our
whole career has been like that. Yeah.
Because we only exist because we have an audience. That's our job for them, is to show them that the impossible can be done.
Well, you know, it's so interesting.
That's a great point. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. But what I love this discussion because, like, even you know, in the olden days when I would drive to a gig or something, and it would only be, you know, the unwritten rule, if it's under 200 miles, you go home. And my sister, who was a civilian, she could never understand that. Like she'd be like, why don't you just stay over? I said, no. I said, because why would I, you know, like why would I stay in a hotel? I'm going to be up till 1 a.m. anyway. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to be sitting in the hotel going, fuck, if I had driven home, I'd be home in my own bed. So it's that same type of thing of, not that we do take risks. You know, to a normal person, if you're doing something and you're done at 11, you're not driving home. If you have a hotel, you're staying in the hotel. Mm-hmm. So it is interesting. You're right that we take a lot of risks. Go ahead.
You know, cracking me up, Carol, is that the big risk you're talking about is driving home, not the fact that we walk on stage and make it up and talk about ourselves for money. That's literally what it is. For 45 minutes, I am going to dominate the room to the point where they're going to want to listen to me talk about myself. That is a tiny bit more of a risk than driving home. But that's how normal it is.
But you could hit a deer.
Well, yes. But I think most people think they could be hit by flying bottles in the, you know, people say the biggest fear, it's a bigger fear than death, is speaking in public. Not for me.
Yeah. Yeah,
you know what makes me even more afraid than standing on stage? I'm not afraid of being on stage at all. But when I write something and I give it to somebody to look at, that scares the poo out of me, because there's no take backs from that. You know, it's a permanent record, you know, and it does scare me.
It scares, but performance scares me more. I'm not an atheist now, but I was an atheist, and yet I resorted to prayer that last 30 seconds every damn show. It really, I was not an easy performer. That's probably why you guys are still doing it. And, you know, I do it in different ways. I don't do stand-up anymore. It's not like I never perform, but I approach every task like this. It's not possible. I can't do it. I'll never be able to do it. Fuck, I gotta do it. Damn it, I'm gonna do it. Oh my God, why did I say yes? And then I get the job done. But
that only goes to show that deep down inside, you do believe you can do it. That's the thing. You know, you're trying to, I don't know why that narrative of I can't do it is going.
I wish it would go away, because I really do. I'm doing something now, and I have to fight through all the layers of I can't do it. I know I'm going to do it. I said, yes, it's a job. You've got to do it. But I do always go through this I can't.
What are you doing now?
Do it anyway. So that's another proof to everybody. You think you can't? Well, guess what? I think I can't either. It worked out anyway.
What are you doing now?
Oh, I'm writing a book.
I know. That's what I wrote. That was my leading question.
Yeah, no, I'm working, but I'm not going to say. I would say what it is. It's just a funny murder mystery.
Nice.
Yeah, and that was another thing, because I want to. That month in Morocco was the prelude to 6 months in Morocco. Because I just want to live in. I just want to live in Morocco. Can I just backtrack? Why did you have to have a COVID test?
Oh, me? Oh,
yeah.
Because my husband was playing ball with one of the guys, and he went to Arizona and didn't quarantine because men are idiots. And but we're fine. I mean, it's fine. You know, it was negative and everything. Don't even get me started on people not taking this seriously. Do you know what I mean?
I have barely left the house. Literally since March 8th, I have stayed in this apartment. I walked 2 blocks to Central Park, and where I think I mentioned the last time, I have walked over 1,200 miles in Central Park. Mm-hmm. And then I come home. I go to the grocery store. I saw Tom Kelly. Do you know Tom Kelly?
Of course.
I love Tom Kelly.
He's great.
So I saw him twice. I saw my sister 1.5 times. And the man I can't do the boyfriend thing anymore. I'm 67 years old. I don't have a freaking boyfriend. The Liebensabschitzgefahrte.
Your gentleman caller?
No, I like Liebensabschitzgefahrte. It's a German word that means a person that you're with at this stage of life.
Oh, I like
What's
that.
It called?
What's
it called?
So I've seen that Liebensabschitzgefahrte, a bunch of times, but not even him for the first 4 months. That is it. And I am prepared to continue to do this until this crap is over, because I ain't dying. Too busy.
Well, it's interesting because when I've done outdoor shows in the park, and when I say that I'm high risk because I'm 62, and people don't understand that even though we're healthy and we're and we're doing, but
Right.
when you will automatically become high risk once you turn 60.
Yeah.
So and there are comics like at the beginning, everyone was really good and was sanitizing the mic and putting
Right.
condom. And then like the last few times I was there, people were like, "Oh, I don't need a condom." I was like, I brought my own. I brought my own mic condom because I'm like, I know where comics have been. I'm not gonna trust you guys. Yeah. People don't get that. That's the thing that's so frustrating. And Jersey's worse off than we are because we're only at like 3.5%. Isn't Jersey like at 10% the infection rate, Julia?
I don't think it's that high.
I don't think it's that high, but it's worse than we are. But we're working on it.
No, we are.
Well, we got the old people down here. I mean, maybe up north it's higher. Down here, they just they don't go out anyway, so it's they stay.
Okay, one political thing we have to discuss, and then we will go back to this fabulous thing. So, if people may not have heard this, but Bill Barr today announced that there was no fraud in the election.
Oh my God!
And then went to the White House after that.
Yeah, because Trump is now berating him and then the Trump legal team, the Jenna and Rudy show, who are the crazy. Somebody posted Sue Kalinsky, who's a great comic and a writer. Do you remember Sue Kalinsky?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she posted a photo of I guess they did some kind of hearing in Arizona in a hotel convention hall. And she wrote, it looked like every shitty road gig she'd ever done. And I just started dying because then I showed it to my husband. He goes, "Oh yeah, we've done that room." And that's what they're doing. This is who is handling this is his legal team.
It's sad.
Yeah.
Well, I can't. Well, I don't think I can say anything original here, but because you can't wrap your head around it. How is this all right with people? His minions still think he's the second coming. I think it's either alien seeding or some kind of social media brainwashing, because half of us can't be bone ass stupid. Half of us cannot be.
So I disagree. I
disagree too.
But actually, it's not really half of us because isn't there over 300 million people in this country, right?
Yes.
It's only a quarter of us are dumbass.
Well, you can't count the kids because they can't. But 300. I forget, was it Jim Jordan or one of those people who's going, "Well, we will fight for those 300 million people that voted for our leader." And I'm like, yeah, but 370 voted him. Are you going to fight for them too, jackass?
Yeah. Well, that's right.
That's actually Antichrist, because remember the Antichrist? All people will love him. That is the Antichrist. Everybody's supposed to love him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think I think that. So and comics. I think it is some of the country. A lot of the country, I mean, they're all dying, but they're still having a normal life. They're working remotely. They have jobs. But the entertainment industry and the hospitality industry, they don't. Well, you were saying this last week, but it was shopping. It's like, who's got any money? Nobody's working.
Right.
Except Schitzgevaarta works on Broadway. No work since March 12th, hoping to come back next year. Comics. You get a stray show here and there, the pickup truck shows, because it's the only way we can stay safe. But we're in these two industries, travel, hospitality, entertainment, we're having a very different experience of it. And what's really interesting to me about that is that entertainment writers, we're having a different experience, but we're the one that create experience. Because how do we process, as human beings, how do we process our feelings in life? We're actually doing it from the reflection back. This is why we read. This is why we watch comics. This is why we go to theater. As human beings, we care about one thing and one thing only, us, ourselves. Mm-hmm. And when you go to a play and when you go to the theater, when you walk away seeing that's the best show I've ever seen, it's because of what it did for you.
Right.
So we're creating and processing everybody's reality. And when show business comes back and comedy comes back, we're going to be dealing with everything that happened in this past year. But yet our experience was so different from the world. So I think that's going to be a very interesting.
I think it'll be a good, almost like a comedy renaissance when we go back because of that. I agree with you totally.
Oh, yeah. I think people are like, I can tell you just from doing, and Julia's done some shows too, that people are so starved for entertainment, so that's such a great point about, and I always forget because we always think entertainment, but you're right about the hospitality department. I mean, my niece,
part of us.
Yeah, my niece is
made our tables.
My niece's boyfriend was working at one of the big hotels here, and then he got an offer. His father offered him a job. He's from Puerto Rico, so my niece and her boyfriend moved to Puerto Rico. He's like, I have a really good job there. I'm going to have housing, and they left because everyone forgets it. And I every time I see somebody say something bad about Broadway, like, well, who cares about Broadway? It's like, okay, it's not just Broadway. Yes, it's the shows. So let's just take away the actors. Let's just take them out of it. Then you've got the stagehands, okay? And then you've got the costume and the makeup. And then you've got the people who work at the restaurants. And then you've got there's just so many, it's just a ripple of so many people in that industry just off Broadway. Yeah. And then when you go to people who don't understand Broadway, well, then let's talk about the Met game or any baseball stadium. Nobody could say, the vendors couldn't sell anything, the merch, and it fascinates me that they were pushing Black Friday, like I said, I don't have any fucking money. I literally had to juice somebody down. Like I went to buy Todd his Christmas present, and I literally said to the guy, it's a pandemic, can we? And he took some money off, but I mean, like,
Were you buying in a store?
No. I was doing it online.
I was going to say.
No, I wouldn't go into it. But that the commercials want you to think that everything's fine. Let's just, the tree is opening up.
Because they have to.
Right.
They have
for some
to.
people it is, except for the dying ones, because they don't believe in it. And this idea, well, you can't keep the economy closed. There's no money. I don't care if I'm living in a shoebox, honest to God, taking a crap in a soda can. I'd be alive.
Right.
I am off death. Not interested in it at all. Never like.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I want to, here's the thing. When Julia and I have talked about this, and I wonder when you were on the road, if this ever worried you, that I was always worried about getting sick because that meant I lost work. Do you know what I mean? Like now during the pandemic, I'm like, now's the time to get sick because there's no work to be lost. But that was always like my
Careful what you ask for.
No,
well,
I don't.
I'm through that because of Carol's first special. I mean, I was this close to dying. I didn't care about it. What bothered me was, God damn it, I missed this network television spot of a lifetime. That's just the way we think as comics.
This is horrible, but one time my father was having an angioplasty. My father always thought he was going to die. And I was working some hellhole in West Virginia or something. Right before I called on stage, he called to say goodbye forever. And because he thought he was going to die. And I really love my father, but I called my sister and I said, because I had this great gig. The next week I was going to Germany and England, this Miller Beer Light Laughs tour. And I got to try, I know Carol, you have the same thing. I'm getting to go somewhere.
Right.
And I call my sister and I say, listen, if he dies this week, you're putting him on ice. Because I'm going to cancel this gig. And no, I think to a normal person, that sounds, you cold, horrible bitch.
No, the night of my father's funeral, we buried him, and then I went to work. I had a gig in Bristol, Pennsylvania. That's and I didn't think twice about it. I mean, I was, and the rationale was, okay, me staying home and mourning him is not going to bring him back, but I'm out $300 if I don't do this gig, and I need the $300.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the resilience of comedians, and it's what we were talking about earlier. Why nothing seems to stop us,
right? Because we do
cockroaches.
think, But back to the sick, the being worried, what you said, Carol, worried. I wasn't, when I was younger, I didn't really. But the big thing is when we were younger, before this pandemic, when you got sick, that didn't interfere with your going to work. I remember one time in Kalamazoo, I had what I think was the flu. I went on stage. I was so sick when I came off, my hair was wet to the ends, completely wet to the ends. And then I went back to my room and I couldn't decide on a plain pizza or a sausage. So I ordered both and I ate them both. I don't know why I was overweight.
But you're right, it's and then again, when we were younger, we never had to face this kind of an illness before, this kind of an epidemic, pandemic, whatever I call it. And even young people are avoiding going, not that there's any work, but even they wouldn't do it. So,
well, they're not allowed to kill each other. I mean, to kill us, that's the thing. You can't make me wear a mask here. It's interfering with my constitutional rights. Well, you killing me is interfering with mine.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't like that.
Yeah, my son has decided, because we're about to go into, for the people that are watching, New York is very close. I wouldn't be surprised if we close up before Christmas, like major lockdown. And my son's like, all right, I'm not going to see you until, so I'm not going to see him now because he doesn't want to take the subway. And, we were all, not that I wasn't getting laissez-faire, but like when I would go do the show at the Crane, I would take the subway down, but I had gloves on and wash, all that. But like now I'm like, I don't want to go on a subway. It's, you don't know who.
Since March 8th.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know who's like the thing that happened with Todd and the guy that he played ball with. So the guy flew to Arizona. He was an anti-masker to begin with, came back knowing full well that when you fly back into New York State, you have to quarantine. And this motherfucker shows up for a ball game on Sunday. How many people are doing that? I mean, how many people are actually doing that and standing next to you at the fucking grocery store?
Jersey has a great way of handling it. Well, I don't know if you saw the billboard with Jon Stewart, Springsteen, and Bon Jovi.
No.
It's the three of them on a billboard wearing a mask, and this is wear a friggin' mask.
Yeah.
That's how Jersey handles it.
Yeah.
Right there for everybody to see. Wear a friggin' mask.
Yeah, and you know what? Like I now, used to, like if I saw somebody without a mask, if I see somebody and I'm walking down the street, because New York, the streets are very small. If I see somebody and they're not wearing a mask, I cross the fucking street. And if they say anything, I'm like, I'm high risk, motherfucker. You know what I mean? Don't.
No.
The good part about it is now I put on makeup for you girls, but generally I'm not bothering to wear makeup because it's masked. You can't really see this, but I also cut my own hair. So I get, the clippers. I Googled how to do a man's haircut because that was for me. And this was, it's grown back a little bit. So you have those little things you put on the end of a clipper so it doesn't cut so long. And I had taken it off to trim the edge of the Liebenschaftspartei. And I forgot to put it back on. And I get up one morning and going like this. I look like Jack Nicholson in Cooper's Net. I've made places for them to put the electrodes. And now normally, and one side, you can still see a little bit. It's like curved up like this. Now, normally when you shave your head, in a very erratic manner, you'd be upset. Every time I walk out, I'm wearing a mask. What the hell? I'm the Lone Ranger. I don't care what I look like. I don't know if you had the COVID-15, which is conservative. So now I've got a luxurious muffin top that I didn't have before.
Yeah.
Nobody knows it's me. They can go, look at that muffin top and a mask. So there are positive sides.
Please! I just spent a few $1,000s on new teeth, right? And now nobody can see them because I got to wear a mask all the time. Pisses me off.
You should get one of those masks. There's a mask now that no. It has a plastic covering, so then you can actually see.
It just pisses me off because I wanted to go show. Hey, look at the new teeth. Yeah.
Did you get laminates? What'd you get?
Huh?
Did you get laminates?
No, I got crowns.
Smile. Show the audience.
Oh, they're nice.
Very nice.
They are nice. I always think back to Jerry Diner whenever I talk about that. Remember Jerry Diner?
Yeah, of course.
And he had, I don't know. I think he told me he had something like $50,000 worth of teeth in his mouth.
I call mine the GNP of a small third world country.
But you
These are
always
not
had
real.
nice teeth, though. You
They're
always
not
had,
real.
did not? What
No,
do you say a thing like that for?
I think I should get extra credit. I paid for them.
Oh, okay. I'm still paying mine off.
Yeah, it's taste. You know what I mean? It's like if you dye your hair, don't pretend it's. No, I picked it.
Yeah.
Oh,
If I wasn't in
ran-
show
I
business,
ran a
believe
tangent.
me, I would have been eating Stella Doros, dunking them in the coffee, so I wouldn't have to bite down on them. What the hell does that mean? What does that mean, Julia?
Okay, what that means for the people who don't know, I know exactly what you meant. You put the cookie in the coffee
Yes.
to make it soft. So this way
Yes.
you'd be doing this.
Right.
That's what you wanted. That's
The
what
old Italian grandma.
the old Italian grandma, for the people who did not know what the fuck she was talking about. Hey, Janette, I have a question for you. Have you ever done, and if you haven't, I did not know this, have you ever done like a TED Talk or a seminar about your life?
No, I've done a little bit of motivational speaking, a couple of times, but I was, Henriette.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who I absolutely love. So she and I meet once a week. We did this we started years ago, right after she wrote No Kidding, which was a book about women authors who chose not to have children.
Right.
And we're having coffee and we're realizing we're writers and we're not writing. So we meet once, we don't write together, it's an accountability.
Mm-hmm.
So this week you got to send me something. So we've been writing. And then we decided, let's do this, how to write a memoir book. So we start writing this memoir book and I'm writing all this stuff about my life and my past. I about killed myself. I like to make shit up. I don't like to delve into the past. And I feel very lucky to have had the life that I've had, but I don't feel like, I don't feel like it's as gripping. I don't know. It feels weird to me. It doesn't feel weird to talk about myself in this environment, because if we were together drinking too much, we would be swapping stories anyway.
True.
But in terms of like a TED Talk kind of thing, also I don't watch them. So if you don't watch them, you probably don't want to do one.
But I like the idea of you and Henriette doing that holding to accountability thing, because that as we all should be doing that with a partner, something similar to that. Like I'm in a writing group that we meet. We used to meet once a month. Now we maybe once every 2 months. But there's some wonderful people in it, and even when it's just that environment fosters creativity.
It makes you work, because it makes you get it done. Because writing is so. Oh, sorry. My text made a sound. Writing is so solitary, and if the contract is signed, or the minute that contract is signed, I am made of discipline. But when you're doing a pitch, the other books that I've done, you sell on proposal because they're humor. But now I'm writing fiction, and at this place, you have to you have to finish it. And if you're going to write a memoir, unless you're famous, you have to finish it to sell it. So you've really got to do all of this work, and it's not motivating without the contract. I can't tell you how many weeks it'll be the night before, and I'm at the computer going, "Damn it, I got to write something for Henriette," as if I'm writing it for Henriette. But it makes a huge difference. It's just another thing in life that you know where you want to go, and you have to do whatever it takes to make yourself go there. Otherwise, when you're old, you're not going to be happy like the three of us are. You're going to be filled with regrets of the things that you didn't do. And if you know you're not doing it because you're not disciplined, find somebody to make you disciplined. That sounds a little like bondage, which is a different subject.
Well, if that's the thing you want to do.
It's interesting because when we started this, I was saying that the last few weeks, I don't know if I thought for some reason that with the election happening and that, thank goodness Biden was elected, I don't know if I thought things were going to change, but I think I've hit a wall. So I love talking to you about, the idea of pushing yourself, because I've been so, like, when there was a moment in the summertime where I literally was writing all the time and doing jokes and lately all I do is I just get up and I'm like, Okay, what are we doing today? Are we going to watch Schitt's Creek? What season are we watching of Schitt's Creek? So it's for me, this is very helpful for me because it's like you really do have to push yourself.
Well, it's absolutely hills and valleys, and I think in this horror we all deserve. If right now, in the very beginning, I couldn't do anything, well,
Right.
I think, but in general, I couldn't do anything, and it's okay because you can't do anything, but you just don't want to live there for too long. And this is really for all of us that are in this industry. It is such a great time to create product because I'm halfway through a book. I'm almost there on I'm not sure if it's really a sitcom or a dramedy, but with a partner that we're working on a pitch. And a second pitch that is. So we're working on 2 TV pitches for when we're ready to pitch. Because you never have time when you're in the middle of working. So this is really a great time for all of us to. This is a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I the catalyst for me was the election. I think that just sort of spurred me back into creating again, and I'm working on a short story right now, which I've been told should be turned into a play, which I probably will. But this is the first project I've done in so long where I actually think I can complete it and want to complete it. I feel hopeful. I'm seeing Obama on TV again. Like,
that'll do it.
yeah,
that'll do it every time.
Yeah.
He's gonna be around. Oh, hi.
Yeah.
But
at this point, I see George Bush, and I think those were the days.
But
We
it's
all
like
do.
the band is getting back together again. They're, and the old crew's packing up their shit and getting out of Dodge. I mean, all I want is normalcy again. And I think, but you're right. We will all have a story to tell about this, our own version.
You are right, Carol, is that it's not going to go back to what it was. I don't think it's ever going to be what it was. And I ask myself this question. I don't have an answer, but I wonder who I will be when this is over, because I can't tell you how, but I feel, and I wonder if you do, I know I'm not who I was.
Right.
Who never spent this much time alone? I'm good alone. But I live alone, and for 4 months I didn't see a soul, and most of the time I'm alone, and sadly I love it. But you have time. You have time to find places. I'm my confidence, what I want, or maybe it's just more of a peace and a comfort in myself, because we actually have the time for that. So if we don't use that, it feels like we're not working, right? It feels like we're not doing anything. Here's my bet. I won't find this out because I'm not doing stand-up right now. But I'm going to bet you guys, and I hope you drop me a line and tell me that when you get on stage, you're going to find that your act grew.
Yes. I've already found that out. I did a show a few weeks back, and it was I was doing stuff up there, and I was like, wow, I never did that before. That's I want to keep that. I'm going to keep that
in your words and in your performance and in the solidity of your soul. And I think even in the non-performers and in writers, I think if we because we can say, oh man, fucking lost 2 years. I don't know about you. At this age, I cannot have this as lost time. I'm 67. I cannot have this as lost time. So this has to be just as good as the rest of it. And it doesn't mean that I'm a goody two shoes and I'm really happy all the time. But for the most part, it's okay. This is what's happening now. We can. I can't wait to see where we are when this is over, because now it looks like it will be over. For a while, I felt like I was living on Total Recall. That Schwarzenegger movie?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we got, what it is? We got off the wheel. And we went back to what they used to call a simpler time before, there's still technology, but that time where people just had to actually talk to each other or, be alone and spend time by themselves.
Right.
We did. We were forced off the wheel.
The comedy of coming back, because all the comedy of coming back is obviously not going to be about COVID, but we're finding different places in ourselves. So we're going to find a place to find humor that doesn't look like it has anything to do with the pandemic, but places that it wasn't there, that we wouldn't have found without this.
It'll be colored by COVID.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Absolutely. my son was it was quite interesting because, he's 28. Like, this is what the fuck, what is happening in my life and everything. So we were talking because he's going to be 29 in February. And he goes, I think I'm just going to stay 28 because I lost the year. Do you know what I mean? But
that's a good idea.
But I will say this, I was really happy for him because, like you said, Janette, like I think, Julia, you did the same thing. We were all just so frozen when it first happened. And that's one of the reasons why I came up with the idea for doing this show, to make myself put makeup on, take a shower. But he's been he's been working on his music because he's a musician. And so all of a sudden, I don't know if it's because the election happened and we know that the end of this misery between COVID and whoever's in charge is over, because all of a sudden now I feel like everyone's bubbling up.
Well, great art always arises out of crisis, post-crisis.
Right.
You look at World War II, look at, the Depression era stuff that came out of there. The same it'll be the same with this, I think.
Yeah.
And it's hope. You said it, that hope came back from the election, although I still think it's a mess because who knows, but it did feel like hope came back. Mm-hmm. And then with the idea of the proximity of a vaccine, hope came back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, maybe. Yeah. And I think we should end on that, ladies, because we are, that's a perfect thing. Hope did come back. And, I think I speak for all Julia and Janette. We just want to do what we've been doing our whole lives. We're not asking anybody to give us a handout. We're funny. We're all funny, smart women, and we want to continue to do that. When Ivanka was like, find something new, I'm like, what the fuck? What is this? What am I going to do with a 62-year-old woman? Would you like fries with that? Because that. Right? That. Could you imagine me, like somebody told, these fries are too salty. Get the fucking fries out of my life. I'd be in jail. But you know what I mean? So that's why when people who voted for this other man are like, well, why are you guys so? Because again, we feel like we have our hope back. Mm-hmm. We feel like we can finally start to move on. I mean. The vaccine was really important, but to me, it was more so that we're moving into another phase.
Thank God.
Yes. So, Julia, would you like to plug your little?
I don't really have anything to plug. But look at that! I don't know where that came from, but
yes, and I'm because it's small business something or other, because there's a holiday for everything. I'm selling my stress balls, which of course I don't have right now but they're little funny women of a certain age stress balls. People, if you want them, just DM me on Facebook and we'll send them out to you. Janette, how about you, my love?
Well, I'm actually taping something, but here's one of my quirks. I have to see it myself before I know it's good enough to admit to. So, although it's going to air somewhere, so I'm just going to say that just know that I'm still out there, opening my mouth.
Yes,
I'm not telling you what it is in case it's on. It's a real fast turnaround. I have to write like a huge amount of copy, memorize it, and tape it within 3 days. So. Who knows? So all I'm going to tell you is that.
Okay. And folks out there, we will see you next week. Thank you for tuning in. Follow these lovely ladies. Ladies, I once again will be ending and then getting out. I love you both so much. Janette, when we can get together, the three of us should.
Oh, I want you so much. I would love that.
That sounds great.
With wine.
Lots of.
I will make a special.
Oh, don't forget, Beaujolais Nouveau is out.
Yes,
Beaujolais Nouveau is here for the season, so that's the real ending for the show.
Goodbye, everybody. We love you. Stay safe. Bye.